What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Noobs Gaming, and today we've got Ogdoadics for you, man. Snakes are back, especially because we've got the new Mitsurigi cards, and this combination is absolutely amazing. I thought, it'd be alright, it'd be not so bad, but actually this deck is much, much better than I expected. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So first off, of course, the only thing I want to show off is the 5 tokens. Of course, so we got to get the OG Ogdoadics. These are amazing. Took me forever to actually find the original ones. In this deck, we can make 4, usually make 3, but that's fine. Still very, very good. We're going to go ahead and get into the main deck, of course. First, we have 3 Nuya. This card is absolutely great. It's a starter. If it's in your hand, you can discard it for cost, and for effect, you send a light reptile to your graveyard. So that gets you set up. You can get set up with your king, with Nunu, and of course with Curse, the best one in the deck. If this card is summoned, normal or special, you get to add an Ogdoadic spell trap to your hand, which is, there's have some custom cards. It's absolutely amazing. So next we have double Nunu. So Nunu here is not as good in this version, unfortunately, because similar effect to the other one. This one, you go ahead and send it to the graveyard, and then you can send a dark. We only have 1 or 2 really good dark targets in this deck, so I might cut this down to 1. But it is actually still a really, really decent card, because if it's in the graveyard and you control no monsters or an Ogdoadic, you can special summon it, but it's banished when it leaves the field. It doesn't really matter. It does reptile lock you while it's on the field, but it doesn't matter because most of the cards in this deck are reptiles. Right, now for the semi-bricks, we play the 1 Zoha. This is something you want to send off of Nunu. If it's in your graveyard, you can unbrick your hand by sending a card from your hand to the graveyard and adding this there. Now, it does have another effect. It's a special summon. Your opponent draws 1 card, and you get to search any Ogdoadic. So it's a little iffy. You kind of don't want to give your opponent draws, but you do need to unbrick. The other harder bricks in hand, but amazing in the graveyard, of course, is the King. We have Aaron, King of the Ogdoadics. This card is really, really good. It tributes 2 to special summon out of the grave. So if you tribute your new Mitsurigi ritual monsters, you can tribute both of them, some of them back. You have 3 bodies. It's absolutely amazing. If your opponent adds a card to their hand, you get to randomly hand rip 1 out of it, which is great. And then if a card is sent to their graveyard in any way, battle, link summon, whatever, you get to add 1 light or dark reptile monster from your graveyard or your deck to your hand. So that is absolutely great. Recycling, you get to search, you get everything you need. And of course, the starter, of course, another brick in hand, is our Curse. This card is everything. This card is best combination. You do want to have it in deck or grave. You send it off of your Nuya. If it's in the graveyard, you tribute any monster, special summon it, and then you can special summon 1 Ogdoadic monster from your deck, from your graveyard, and your opponent can special summon 1 monster from their graveyard, but their effects are negated. But in this version, it does not matter. We're going to clear that monster. It's not a problem at all. Usually, you're summoning back your Nuya here. It does get banished when it leaves the field, but it's not a problem because we do have cards interact with that as well. Speaking of, the best searcher for Nuya here, we have the absolutely custom broken card, Ogdoadic Daybreak. This card is absolutely insane. You tribute a reptile monster and special summon tokens equal to its level divided by 2, which is why I said we can get 4 tokens out by tributing level 8s. Absolutely crazy. Insane bodies, and of course all of our stuff wants to be in the graveyard. It's crazy. It has a second engrave effect. You can shuffle back a banished reptile monster by banishing this from your graveyard to foolish another reptile, so you can just keep on going. Speaking of foolishing reptiles, their other card here is our Ogdoadic Water Lily. This card, you can foolish any reptile from your deck to the graveyard, and then at resolution, if you have 5 or more reptiles in your graveyard, you can special summon 1. So it's a great extender, just for dumping because all your stuff does stuff in the graveyard, or if you have 5 or more, absolutely get more bodies on the field. Great card, really don't need it more at 1, but it's really, really good. And then for the absolute most broken card, we have Snake Rain. It just reads Foolish 4 Reptiles. So you send any 4 monsters you want to your graveyard. Konami, I don't know, I guess I know what they were thinking because reptiles were never good in the past. But now, I'm actually afraid this card might get hit. It is so good. Plus, we also have a way to search it in this deck. Absolutely custom card. Now, for the Mitsurugis here, we are running 3 Saji. When this card is summoned or tributed, you go ahead and add any spell or trap to your hand. So you can get your ritual, you can get your trap, or your quick play to go ahead and get going. We have one of Kusanagi. So this card is similar to the last one, except it grabs from the graveyard, so it's your recycling. Usually you'll tribute this from the deck to grab your ritual spell. Also, if it's on the field, you can go ahead and protect your other monsters from destruction by tributing this. Next, for the big boys, we have one Ame. This card is absolutely broken. You have your once per turn negate or hand rip. If your opponent activates any kind of effect, you can activate this effect in response, so they can either have that effect negated or they can choose to discard a card instead. So meaning if they have no cards in hand, they cannot, their effect will not resolve. If this card is special summoned, you get to Raigeki their field to destroy all of their monsters, and it can also come back if it's tributed. You add any Mitsurugi card from your deck to your hand and just summon this back. And you have a lot of ways to tribute it on your opponent's turn, so you can trigger the Raigeki effect at any point. And I don't know why they printed this. This is just, the whole deck is just crazy custom cards, right? So this card, the other ritual, once per chain, not per turn, once per chain. When your opponent special summons a monster, you get to special summon any reptile from your graveyard. So you can just end your combo on this and maybe one other card, and while your opponent plays, you just bring back all of your pieces and absolutely destroy them. It is crazy. Same thing as the other guy. If he's tributed, you get to summon him back. So of course that works with our Daybreak, where we tribute this to summon tokens. It works with Aaron to tribute himself, come back. Works with Curse, tribute this to come back. It's, I don't know what they were thinking. It's absolutely crazy. Next, we have our rituals. I have 2 of the Mitsurugi ritual. I would play this at 3, but I only happened to find 2 at the sneak peek, but that's okay. Still, the deck ran just fine with 2. I honestly don't know if 3 is needed, to be honest, because you can search this card. Card is, any card unless your ritual summon out of the deck is, broken. I keep saying that about this deck. But it's absolutely true. So you can go ahead and ritual summon one monster out of your deck by tributing out of your hand or field, or you can tribute from hand by tributing out of the field or deck. So usually you get your stuff out of the deck, you get your Kusanji to go ahead and recycle this, so you can summon your other one out of your deck, and you also can send one card we'll go over later here to get more extension. Next, we have 3 prayers. This card says add any Mitsurugi card or Mitsurugi monster from your deck to your hand. You can also choose to tribute a reptile monster, and if you do, you can go ahead and special summon a Mitsurugi monster by paying 800 life points. So all of your guys have effects are tributed for your Mitsurugi side of things, so this card is absolutely insane. You can set it, and then your opponent's turn, you can tribute one of your big guys to bring it back. For example, Ame to go ahead and Raigeki the field. After that, we have our trap here. This is a negate by tributing a monster. Again, you can go ahead and negate something by tributing your big guy and then bring him back to blow up the field. It also has an in-graveyard recycling effect, which I'll put up here. I forget exactly what it is. It never really comes up. Next, for our extenders here, we run 1 Night Sword Serpent. This is the other card you send off with the ritual from the deck. If it's sent to the graveyard by effect, not cost, but effect, you can go ahead and special summon it. So, absolutely great, fantastic card. The other 2 extenders we played that I may or may not cut, that didn't really come up, I have 1 Ragnaraka Armored Lizard. If this card is in your hand, you can banish a reptile from your graveyard to special summon it. We do need our level 4 bodies, so it's good for that, but if you draw it in your opening hand and you have no other reptiles, it can be a little bit more awkward. Kind of the same thing here with Reptilian Kodo. So if this card, if you control a dark reptile, which most of our guys are, except for this, and the Nunu, you can special summon this from your hand. Again, we need our level 4 bodies for our king, but if you just open it by itself, it can be a little tricky, so that's why I'm thinking about maybe cutting these 2, but they have come up. And for the final reptile-related card, we have our Planet Pollutant Virus. So, I don't know why Konami prints virus cards. absolutely crazy. In this deck, it's so good. So you go ahead and tribute an alien monster, which we have in our extra deck, and then you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls without A counters. So it's a Raigeki, it wipes your opponent's board, and then your opponent's monsters get A counters when they're summoned for the next 3 turns. This works in tandem with one of our extra deck monsters that says any monster that has an A counter on it cannot activate its effect, and it switches defense. So basically, you just stop your opponent from playing. It's busted. It's unfun to play against, but it's so fun to play with. And I definitely understand. I have a couple of my buddies who absolutely hate this card just because they're like, yeah, well, you floodgate me out of the game. Hey, in Yu-Gi-Oh, you either floodgate or you just don't let your opponent play. That's just how it is. Now, for the only monster hand trap we run in the deck, we are on 3 Ash Blossom. So this would be Fuolos if I had some, but I don't really feel like spending $60 per card on one card. That's not me. But yeah, so absolutely probably the next best option after the Molcharmies. Next, for the absolute MVP here, we have Thrust. You're gonna get hand trapped in this deck, like that's no questions about it. And if you do, you get to add any card you want, including Snake Rain, as said earlier, because it is a normal spell. So it's absolutely great as follow-up. Even with that being said, if you're going second, too, of course, your opponent's going to have monster effects you're going to activate. So this is always live. For the targets for Thrust, we have the 1 talents. Usually we're going to use this to hand rip or take. Most of the time we're going to have enough in our hand to keep on going. But we also have the option to draw, of course. The other target here is going to be our Pot of Prosperity. Banish 6 draw. Our extra deck, you can see, is really not tight in this specific build, and that is something that I would probably need to update as well as the extra deck, which I'll go over later. And our last target here is going to be our triple Imperm, because it is, again, probably the second best hand trap after Ash Blossom and all the Molcharmies. And the last card in the deck here, because we do want our cards in the graveyard, is going to be Forbidden Droplet. This card came in so clutch, because, a lot of times you can go ahead and activate a card and send it off with this, and you still get that 1 negate, and you also have a lot of cards in your hand that can be dead, like your King, your Curse, or any of the level 4s if you can't summon them out. It's a good way to get them out of the hand into the graveyard. But of course, for each card you send, you get a negate, so absolutely fantastic. That's it for the main. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the extra deck here. First off, we're going to go with the cards that matter. We're going to go with Double King of the Feral Imps. Discard a card, detach a material, search for any reptile. Not once per turn per copy. So it's once per turn per copy, basically. So you can just summon out the other guy and go again. Usually you just need it to resolve once, but you can do it twice if you need it. Absolutely perfect starter, gets you anything you need. Usually you special summon 2 level 4s, go into your Sanji to get you into your Mitsurugi engine. Absolutely great. Now for the Pollutant virus that we were talking about earlier, we have 2 Alien Shock Trooper M-Frame. Absolutely amazing card, usually just a tribute target for our Pollutant Lab. However, it does have a really good effect too. You can discard a card, which again can be our level 8 bricks, to go ahead and place that many A counters on your opponent's card. If this card is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon monsters from your graveyard up to the number of A counters that your opponent had, which is insane. Usually it doesn't stick around for that, but it doesn't matter. It's a really good effect if it comes up. Then, of course, for the Broken Boss monster we were talking about before, Cosmic Slicer 0, any monster with an A counter cannot activate its effects on your opponent's side of the field, and it's switch to defense. So the only out really is to try to summon a Bink Link monster and beat over this if they can, but we have workarounds for that. Now, for the utility reptiles here, we play 1 Reptilia and Echidna. This card is really, really good. If you summon it, you can target a monster your opponent's controls and make its attack 0. Then, once per turn, you can go ahead and add cards to your hand, reptile cards to your hand, up to the number of monsters your opponent controls with 0 attack. The only thing is with this, it locks you into reptiles from the extra deck, but really, that doesn't matter. Most boards you're going to be ending on your reptile guys like these anyways, so it's not a big problem at all. And our final utility reptile here is going to be our Hazard Lizardos, the actual home where this card belongs. I know people play in the Maliss for an extender, but here you actually get the draw, and sometimes you do need to banish your stuff out of the graveyard. As I mentioned, our little guys banish themselves. However, if they use XYZ material, they'll go to grave. So sometimes you need this just to banish to get your Daybreak live for recycling. Now, for our other cards we play 2 of the Ragnarika Skeletal Soldier. These guys are plants. They're really only here to make off of your tokens, so you can go ahead and go into your Bengal Lancer. So Bengal Lancer here says you can pay life points equal to the attack points of a monster on the field and return it to the hand as a quick effect. So it's a really good way to deal with certain threats. For our remaining Ragnarikas, we do play our Celine's Snapper. This card is more for link climbing, but it can also be a spell trap out, which is kind of nice. And we also play our Chain Coils here. This card, if your opponent activates effect, you can lock them out of using hand traps, basically by locking them out of monster effects in hand. They don't really come up that often, but there are situations that are pretty good, but also they're always going to be prosperity targets. For our other utility stuff here, we have one Exciton, because we do play a bunch of level 4s, and clearing your opponent's board is never a bad idea. And of course, we have the SP and IP. We can make this. Usually we're not reptile locked by this point, so we can go into this. If you go this far, really, like, your opponent can't really do anything just because of the rest of the board that's here. It doesn't really matter. If you have this, it's already a win more card at this point. So that's it for the main and extra. Let's go ahead and go to the side super quick here. We, of course, have triple Droll here. I wasn't sure exactly what to put in this slot, so I chose Droll. It's been pretty decent for me. There are a lot of cards now that do add stuff, so you can just cut them off of that. Not a problem at all. Because we hate Maliss, we are on a lot of Maliss hate. We are on triple of our Artifact Glancia. Great card, your opponent can't banish. It can mess you up just a little bit, but not too much to worry about. Of course, we have 2 Phantasme, because Maliss, we want to cycle through our cards as much as we can. Now, for our prosperity targets, we are on 2 Ultimate Slayer. We don't have any fusions. I might want to tech in a fusion in the deck just to get this a little bit better. We have our Raigeki and Duster, of course, for more removal. And speaking of more removal, we are on double evenly. And finally, the last card here because of, mostly for, why can't I think of the name? Ryzeal. Mostly because of Ryzeal, we are on the barrier. So yeah, that's the deck. So I think this version is absolutely fantastic. The Ryzeal version, honestly, is a little bit better, but it cannot do all the crazy things that this does. This deck here, you do just so much that people don't even know how to deal with it. So personally, I think this deck is way better than anybody gives it credit for. I think this should be the way moving forward. Ryzeal sure gets you into King faster, but you just end on what? King and your Ritual? That's nothing. Here, you end on a Hand Rip, you end on your monster can activate effects, you can bring back all your guys over and over and over again. It's absolutely nuts. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I think I'll put up at the beginning of what my results were. Anyways, that's it. Subscribe, all that good stuff. See y'all later. Bye.